We are Tuesday afternoon meeting of the BOCC. Looks right off the bat, we got building and planning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy Jackson, Director of Building and Planning. We have an opportunity to do an EV charging station up the Cougar area. We've had some interest. Property owner Adam and Laura have taken the lead on this, and I'm going to hand it over to them and see what the board's pleasure is. If so, we would have to have, unfortunately, a decision today because the timeline's so short. They extended it. That's why we're up here asking for board permission. We would submit it on the board's agenda today for next Tuesday's approval. So here's Adam.
Thank you, Tracy. So like she mentioned, we learned about this. I learned about this earlier this month and the deadline's end of the month. So the idea is to answer your questions and see if you're interested in, giving permission to apply for this grant so that we can make that decision. I think I put the puzzle pieces together to pull an application off. We've got a very interested vendor who could provide charging equipment. We've got a business owner up in Cougar, Washington, who's very, very interested in making an application. And this is your chance to kind of get some questions answered and let us know if you want to see this on your agenda next week.
Did it start with the business owner? They request this?
No, I approached them. Laura and I visited Cougar and talked to different business owners about this opportunity to see if there was even any interest. This particular business owner, who seems very serious, mentioned that he had tried to get a charging station already. So he was already working on this project. He just didn't want to give up so much of his parking that the particular vendor wanted 8 spaces, and he just couldn't see how that would work up there. So this grant opportunity, if you'd like me to tell you more about it, is from WashDOT. And what caught my interest was the original funding amount. I'm not sure if it was $6 or more million dollars, got increased to $30 million. And I just thought, well, that's a pretty substantial increase. So they're going to be offering funding for, they want to see 4 high-speed chargers on state highways. They want the chargers to be close to the highway. They want the chargers to benefit a private business. They want the chargers to connect people on routes so that, electric vehicles can crisscross our state. Now, they did target certain highways in the state. The graphic I've got up there shows those targeted highways. And I just, I see Cowlitz County getting overlooked again. And with the increased funding amount, to me, it seems this is definitely a worthwhile effort. We've got the potential that these funds are just going to go elsewhere when our application could hold extra weight with the extra funding that we have, so they could spread it around a little more. I took a look at Cougar, Washington, because you've got this gateway to so much recreation, and our proximity to Clark County, Portland, where you've got thousands of people who've bought these electric SUVs, and they're going to want to do recreation in them. They're going to want to go up Lewis River Road. They're going to see the Ape Cave, the upper and lower Lewis River Falls. If you go to the next slide. There's so many opportunities up there. Kelly, could you go to the next? Thanks. That we've got people wanting to see. And if I'm going out there with my family, I'm going to want a full charge before I head out into the wilderness. So that's part of what I think gives us an advantage. State route, the next slide, goes all the way to Mount Adams. It can even get you back down onto the gorge. So it is a connection to other highways. You just have to go through a national forest to do so. And with this grant application, we have an opportunity to get some of those drivers to stop in Cougar, Washington and do, a 25-minute, 30-minute, 1-hour charge and potentially have 100% of that cost covered by the grant. That's kind of the way it's shaping up. The grant does require the applicant be a government, and that's why I'm sitting here. There is an expectation that the chargers will remain in service for 5 years. The grant also requires it be a partnership with a private business. So we reached out to businesses and found some interest there. And then, of course, there's the third component, which is the vendor, the actual charging station owner or operator. In this case, there's a company called FreeWire that has a pretty good solution. And I can speak a little bit about them because that's who's offered to help write this grant. Their business model is they can drop a charger pretty much anywhere you have electricity. They don't require the super high voltage or extra capacity. They don't require expensive substations to be built because their chargers contain basically a couple of car batteries in them. And so they're always charging up those car batteries. And when you pull up with your electric vehicle, all that power is available to you. So you can get in and out quickly, 25 minutes, 30 minutes for a typical charge. And so you spend more on the charging device than you do on all the infrastructure upgrades that you might for a typical high-speed charger, which are really limited where they can go. And out in Cougar, they don't appear to have that extra electrical infrastructure. The wires above the road are your typical high voltage, but there's nothing extra out there, which would allow you to drop in a high-speed charger without building an expensive substation. And so FreeWire has a pretty good solution. The grant requires 4 stations. So that's one aspect of this that we're looking at with WashDOT, whether you can do 2 chargers with 2 plugs each, or you have to do 4 individual chargers. I'm not quite sure on that yet, but it still offers a great opportunity for very little disruption, easy installation, and use of existing electricity that's already out there. And I'm pleased to say that the PUD's already confirmed that they have the power that you would need to run these products. So you probably have some questions. I'm happy to try and answer those. But that's the basics of what we're putting together. There's more information on the WashDOT website, and that's where I would go to get more technical answers.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not sure which are the more pertinent questions. There was one point in reverse order I didn't quite follow. You say that the electric grid is available there for high-speed chargers?
What I want to say is there's areas of the county where you can't install high-speed chargers without really expensive upgrades. And
Understood.
Cougar might be one of those areas.
Oh, so you don't know whether it would, and how does that impact this particular effort?
It may limit which vendors you could use out there. So there's like FreeWire's business model. They use the batteries to make up for the fact that you may not have extra capacity.
And they trickle charge the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you're going on that route, how long does it take to charge when you're using the battery backup ones?
It's about the same as a Tesla charger or the EV America ones here in Kelso. 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
Oh, and okay, I'm surprised. I was thinking the battery capacity on the EV has to be pretty substantial. So you're telling me these have pretty substantial.
Yeah.
So if I were to stack up, I go and then I'm charged and the next guy comes, it's not going to be the same, is it?
That's right. The free wire battery will be drawn down by your charge, so it might be slower for the next person. If you had a line of people, it may not be the best option for like a
Okay.
freeway stop. But
And if I'm you mentioned there's a benefit for a private business. Could you outline that?
yeah, I know it's a grant requirement, so the grant is encouraging that these be cited not in the right of way, for example, or not on publicly owned property, but instead on private property so that they benefit a private business. And that's a scoring criteria so that you can show that there could be a benefit to retail or shopping or tourist destination.
Right, I got that part. The part I didn't get there. So I'm a store owner and I'm going to have one of these there. Is it a direct benefit or an indirect benefit?
Indirect, yeah. It says
Indirect.
applicants must partner with a business that stands to gain indirect value from the project.
Okay, and so at some point, if you win the grant, you're going to have to find a vendor who will install it, operate it, and charge a fee, maintain it, I should say, and all that.
Yes, if the grant was awarded, you would want to lock in with that vendor. The free wire business model is they want to sell you the charger and they'll do the maintenance, but you're the owner. So it's like buying a pop can dispenser. You've paid for that, and then you're going to get paid off over time as people buy sodas from your soda machine. And you know, if the business model works out, you'll pay that machine off and it'll start to just pay you.
So if I'm the store owner, I initially get no benefit, no direct benefit until some amount of time has passed and the vendor has recouped all the expenses. Is that what you said?
Plus the indirect benefit of the people who are
That's
captive
always
there
going to
for
be there.
25
Okay.
minutes. So yeah.
And what does the grant do for us then?
Well, the grant, it can cover 100% of the cost of this project. The goal is to create a network of charging stations. So
Why in that case who gets the benefit? So before, if I invested yeah, it sounds like you know the question. No,
yeah, well, there's tourism benefits, right? Economic benefit to Cougar.
right, but who gets the benefit?
Oh, does the grant specify?
Well, I mean, the grant says that we're going to pay to have this thing put in. I'm assuming we're paying the capital costs as well, right?
Yeah.
And so if a private entity were doing that, they would reach into their pocket, pay for it, and then amortize that. Here, the amortization will be on your back as a taxpayer.
Yeah.
I snapped my fingers much too much on that. I'm sorry. So I'm just curious, where does the money, where does the income go then? And I'm assuming it's not a free charge. It's everybody pays.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that I have quite that level of knowledge to answer that question. I think that in the sense that this is a partnership, you could specify how you want those benefits to be experienced. So if, for example, the grant covered 100% of the cost, maybe one of the terms of our partnership is there be some additional public benefit so that the business owner is not just collecting fees for a free pop machine immediately, for example.
So when you say a partnership, that means somewhere there's a piece of paper that says my local store in Cowlitz County are partners operating this. So
Yeah.
we have liability and all that involved in that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now I think you want to ask the important questions.
So we take on maintenance of it and all that? Is this like we have a stoplight at Industrial Way, somebody put in and then they gave it to the county. Now we're responsible for taking care of everything that goes wrong with it. Is it similar to that?
It's not going to be a dedication to public. No, I think the county's obligation and part of the reason for a government sponsor is to ensure that the chargers remain in operation for 5 years. So there is some liability there, and that they be available to the public. They're not behind a gate.
So we're obligated for 5 years on this program.
Yeah, that's the period of performance.
And it pencils out so that it doesn't cost us anything in Plan A.
Yeah, we don't really have enough time to work out a solid match agreement. This is probably going to be please don't overlook us. This is a great corridor to have charging on. It's a gateway to recreation. It benefits Cougar, Washington, and we would like 100 or 99% funding, whatever it ends up being. The business owner will put their property up as match, the parking area. There could be some installation costs that the business owner would be willing to cover as well, or that the PUD would offer to cover. That could be match.
Yeah. How to word this? I struggle, I don't struggle helping out the community of Cougar if that's what they want. What I struggle with is they take the money out of the taxpayers through taxes, and then they say, oh, it's free money. Here comes a grant. You can do this. And the benefit, I don't see where the benefit ever goes back to the taxpayers. I'm assuming this is out of this carbon tax, this 44 cents a gallon that has been piling up.
Like I said, you had the harder questions.
Yeah, and I'm trying to separate, I get the benefit to Cougar, and I'm okay. It's an infrastructure in a sense, and so it helps that community. If it was private enterprise, Cougar saying, we want to invest in that and do that because we think it'll bring more people up there, and the county, is there a way you can help us a little bit? Sure. But this is just taken from the taxpayer and say, we got this pot of gold. We can spend it up there. We don't know how much goes back to the taxpayer. That concept just drives me insane. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to get past that because I think it's okay to help a community in our district, although I don't agree with how they steal the funds.
Yeah, I would even add to the awkwardness that there's carbon tax and all that. And I know I'll be an alien to a lot of people who've never taken a science class, but it's total climate change garbage. And all that being said, it is a use for fee. It's not a free lunch for the citizen. It is also equally available to anybody and everybody. We aren't just saying only left-handed piccolo players get to use it. So it does feel like infrastructure, and there's nothing I can do or say that would change the tyrannical pressure to eliminate fossil fuels. So I don't want to argue from that standpoint. So I would go along with it. I'm a little hesitant that I don't know the full obligation of, what exactly are we on the hook for? If it catches fire and the store burns down, who's going to pay for that?
Yeah, I'm not totally, and it's probably, this is probably pretty new, so we don't trying to discover some of those things, but I'm of like mind. I'm thinking I'm okay doing this. I just don't like the process the way they get the money.
And I don't like picking winners and losers, and that's really, are we doing this with an RFP kind of approach? How do I know whether put it in this store or in that store?
Laura and I talked to the stores in Cougar, and
one or two,
they both were pretty well aware of the opportunity. I reached out to both of them. One responded, one didn't. So it made it so I didn't have to choose. Honestly, I think we could support applications for both if they had both responded, but it just worked out that only one seemed quite serious.
Yeah, without knowing much more, I would say try to get both involved. They'll either both be unhappy or both be happy, but I don't want it split. It's just,
Yeah. And geographic wise, I get the location because you can head up over and you can head down the Wind River side and end up down in Stevenson, or you can head the other way and be in Randall. So I get it's a loop thing and there's really nothing in between.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
I'm
wouldn't head out there without a full charge.
with
that's why I always keep my flask in my, oh, sorry.
so my political leanings aside, I think it's probably a benefit for that area and we should move with it.
Yeah,
I agree.
okay. It is just an application, so the contracts they don't have to be signed until we find out if we got the award. Some of these details may be able to better worked out at that time.
Yeah, but we don't want to put you through effort fully knowing we'd say no. So I think this says if everything is still reasonable, it's a yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, this is an interesting one.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not going to go away. These opportunities are out there. I did look for the PUD to be the sponsor, the Port of Woodland, somebody. Wasn't able to find a partner for this one at the last minute, but I appreciate your willingness to consider it.
We got one.
You're gonna press your luck now, huh?
A little bit. So Wayne's gonna come up and we're just gonna, we have boundary review board. Laura, you might want to stay. I just want to make the board aware. We received an application from the city of Longview and the commissioners can comment on it. And so we were wondering if the commissioners were going to comment.
Good afternoon. So first of all, have you had an opportunity to review the materials that were submitted to the board?
Just for the public, probably should introduce yourselves as staff.
I apologize.
members.
Wayne Nelson, Planning Manager, Building and Planning. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So have you had the opportunity to review the materials that's before the boundary review board tomorrow?
Refresh my memory.
Yeah.
So in summary, we have a petition from the city of Longview for an annexation.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And so the boundary review board meets tomorrow to consider it. And so we just wanted, since we hadn't received any comments back from the board, wanted to offer an opportunity to ask any questions or.
TISIP piece out Ocean Beach.
Correct,
And it kind of does the canal is how they figure it
Exactly right.
connects. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I saw it when it was presented. I don't really have any. It's an individual or a partnership that owns it. It's really requesting it, right?
It's exactly. right.
It's, they went to the city and said, we want to be part of this and we have this. And
Right.
if the property owners want to be there, I don't. Yeah,
I'm okay with that. That was the one thing I kept trying to remember for a miscellaneous. And I finally found it.
there you go.
I'm with you. If the owner wants it. Now, this is a single plot.
Yeah. I can't remember how big it is, but it's single plot that they were both at the Longview meeting. I don't remember their names, but
Right.
they were the ones that initiated the request and wanted Longview to do that. So it's their property. I'd honor their wishes.
Seems easy enough.
Yeah.
That's it. Just wanted to make sure that,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
You have executive session, collective bargaining, how long? 5 minutes?
Watch you make
Sure.
it 10.
Okay, okay.
I'm going
So-
to ask questions.
So we'll head in executive session for collective bargaining. We're estimating 5 minutes. Thank you. Back from executive session, no decisions were made.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I am requesting permission from the board to have the chairman sign a step 3 grievance response to the union.
So moved.
Okay,
Thank you. And then also,
do we
You
need
want
to
to vote
vote?
on that?
oh, sorry.
Well, I don't, we have nobody in here and I don't see any comments. So we'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then also I'm requesting an operator 3 in the spray shop, Susan Tibbles, be placed at step 3. Currently she's at step 1.
So moved.
Seeing no comments, we call for the vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. They were, I don't really have any miscellaneous other than, the council was in Woodland last night, was actually pretty complimentary and excited about that agreement.
I'm looking for my notes to see if there's anything.
Now that you found the one that you were looking for.
Yeah.
Last week. Okay,
I'm good.
good. We will adjourn.